this is comparison statistics part 1. This is the first part of the lecture. So in this lecture, we are focusing on R statistical language. So I have provided a supporting document. In that document, I have stated the basic things that you have to know about R. So there I have mentioned that instead of R, we are using R Studio interface to work with R. So this is the R Studio interface. So you can go to, so after installing R, so you can install R Studio as I have given in the paper. So after that, you don't need to open R, you just open R Studio. So then the interface will be like this. So working in this interface is more convenient than working in R. So you can see the console is here. If you have open R, it has only the console. But in here, the interface supports few more built-in functions, which means each of these menus have functions related to those actions. So then by clicking those, the function will be automatically run. So here, let's look at some options available in the interface. So this is console, and here you can see help and the packages you have already installed. Um, and if you want to install packages, you have to use this one as well. So in the future lectures, we will learn how to install packages and load packages. In here, the plots will be printed in here, so you can export those plots. And here it shows the files in your working directory. So I'll come to that point. So this is the environment. This shows all the variables that I have already been saved to your environment. So if you are using a new session, so you can delete that objects and will give environment is empty. So it's better to start a new project always with an empty environment, which will reduce errors. So then in the history, you can find what are the codes that you have run in this session. So this is not a new session. That is why my history is full of functions. So now, since the environment is, I don't have to worry about the memory. So now the memory is uh, empty in this related to this session. So after that, I can first you have to um, find the working directory before you start work, because all the files that you are saving to the computer will be stored at your destination of working directory. So you can type just get working directory. So you can see when you are typing the function, this extension will suggest what are the functions that are loaded to this current session. So here you can see the library itself. So these are default libraries, so you don't have to load those libraries again. So how to load a library and install a library will be discussed in upcoming lectures. So there they suggest the available functions, so you can select one and brief introduction will be shown at the site. So this is the function I need to call. So then press enter. Then you will see this is the destination. Now this is the working directory of yours. So it is C, user, admin, and document. So whatever the files you are saving will be stored in this folder. And if you want to uh, import data, so you have to save those data or put those data to this document file. Then we can import them easily. So these are the files of our working directory. So by selecting these, it will automatically load it to the environment. So I need to change this working directory. So you have to go to session. So First select a new session since I have used this one. So in the new session, you will see my history is cleared, but since I have the things I have saved is listed here, so I don't need that one. So you can close that. So first go to set working directory and choose a working directory. So there you can select the path. So my destination will be this file. So you can choose a proper file and select the proper folder. So this is the destination of mine. So if you want to store all the things and if you want to list all the data in one folder, so you have to set your working directory to that particular folder. So by selecting that, this function set wd will be automatically executed, and this is how the destination is given. So you can type this function in hand as well. So in my folder I have some um files. So here you can see r .r extension, so which means that is a script file. So before going to that, I will show in this case in new file we can have R script, R node likewise, and even C++, HTML, SQL languages and Python languages as well. So this is the convenient case. So if you are using R only in the console you have to type the function and execute, then you are allowed to do the next typing session. But in here we can have a separate script file. So you can take that one from here. So by clicking this, a new script file will be opened. So you can save the script only, or you can save the entire project only. So when you are going to save as, so you can see the extension here. So and you can directly save that in here. So it saves only the script. This saves all the open documents. So the advantage of using a script is we can type the function here without executing it. So we can type entire function first, then we can execute line one by one. So let's see a simple information. So if you want to write a comment, so we will use hash. So anything after the hash will be considered or treated as a comment. So that part is not be executed as a function or a object. So this is comment and press enter. So you can go to the next line. So there you can type anything. If you want to run the session, you can type a function and run. Suppose this is how we comment. So in R, we have 5 atomic object classes: characters, um, numeric, integer, logic, and um, complex. So these are the 5 atomic um, objects. So you can use assigning operator to assign these objects to its object names. Suppose I need, so when we are using object names, be mindful to use your meaningful words, and these are case sensitive. So you have to be careful when you are using names. So if you are using capital letters, so then when you are recalling that one, you have to use the same name. So here x capital X1 as my object name. So I am storing 10 to x. So this is my assigning operator. So it is just greater than and this is the assigning operator. So you can execute that one. So there, after executing that one, 10 is stored to capital X. So you can see, though I typed it here, pressing enter will not execute the line. So you have to select the line and click run, or there's a shortcut control plus enter. After that, it will be executed in the console, and the stored values will be stored in the global environment, and you can see the name with the contents of the object. So this is how it works, and you can save this one. So for this lecture, I have prepared a lecture note using or code for the lecture. So it is stored in my destination or working directory. Name of that one is code1.r. So it is a source file. So here you can click it. By clicking that one, automatically open the script file. So you can see that the name of this one or this file is in black, and this is in red, which means this is a saved one and this is uh, a temporary one. Once you save this file, this red will be turned to black. So now I'm going to work in this script. So I'm not using this one. So you can close it. So when you are closing, you are asked to save or don't save. I don't need that one, so I don't save it. So here we have started this one. R has 5 atomic classes for objects: characters, numeric or real numbers, integers, complex and logical. So they have the meaning as them. So this R is quite similar, or not quite, so it's somewhat similar to C++, because some part of this R is built relating to C. So here assigning variables. So this is statistics. In statistics, we are using variables all the time. So object names are the variable names. So when you are using variables, so which means if we are using the data, we have to input those data into our environment before start the analysis. So when we are entering the data, you have to type the variable name here, then assigning mark. So you assign 10 to capital X. So then that is an integer object. So suppose simple y is a character string. So when you are typing a character, you have to use inverted commas, and whatever the content inside the inverted commas will be treated as a character. So you can run that one. Then you can see the command is executed in this line in the console, and the result or can be seen in the environment as the under the y we have a string called hello. So if you want to go back to the console and recall the function, so you can click the available uh, or the cursor, then using the arrow key you can go to up and down, so it will shows the recently executed functions. Then simply said will be a logical value. It is true and false. So you in this R session you can use true and false. So these true and false are logical conditions. Even you can type capital T and capital F as true and false. So when make sure to avoid capital T and capital F in naming variables. So if you name a variable using capital T and capital F, that logical condition will be mixed up. So to avoid some interaction, so between these codes, so if you are using a large code with some interacted words, so sometimes the outputs will be misleading us. So do not use capital T and capital F for variable names, since capital T and capital F are logical statements or treated as logical statements or logical conditions in R, and 0 and 1 also treated as logical conditions if we are converting these true and false to numerical uh, objects. So you can see in future we are using that characteristics in our calculations. So after assigning, we can print the variable to view what is inside. So this is one option. You can go to environment and see, or you can print the entire object. So I need to print capital X, so you can type capital X and control enter. So then it will show. So this is the output. So if you want to take the output for an external file, just select the line or select the content that you want to copy and copy it to an external file. So likewise, I want to preview or print the value in simple y. So it is hello. It is a string. So string is printed even inside an inverted comma. So after that, this is the case. So hash is used to start comments. So anything after the hash will be treated as comments or ignored. So even hash itself is ignored after that hash. And look this carefully. So I am assigning to simple x a comment. So this is a comment. So after the next line of the comment is 10. So it is just an object. It is unassigned. So if I execute this assigning line, you can see simple x is assigned as 10. Suppose it is 11, so we change this as 11, but I am running this one. But the next line also automatically run. That is because this is the object name, and after the assigning operator, there is a hash. So anything with the hash will be ignored. So it goes, the entire row after the hash is ignored and it goes to the next row. In the next row, we have an object. So that object is assigned to the earlier assignment as 11, or simple x is equal to 11. So when you are printing simple x, control enter, or you can click run, you can see x is 11 now. So which means if you are writing, so most of the time when we are building or writing a good code, so we always use comments, because a reviewer can easily understand the code, or even us can find errors in the code if we have used proper comments in necessary places. So when you are putting comments, make sure to put the comment in the right place. So if you have put a hash in a wrong place, so the entire row will be ignored and the next row is automatically executed. So then the output is not the expected output from our code. So that is the special case. Then we can move on to numbers. So we have real numbers and integers in object classes. So both real and integers are treated as numeric objects. So numbers are treated as numeric objects. But we have two special cases, infinity and not defined case, which means 1 divided by 0 is infinity. So let's see how infinity is defined in R. So we can execute that one here, 1 divided by 0, and this is the infinity in R, capital I N F. So if you want to use an infinity condition in your code, so you have to type capital I, simple N, simple F. And we know that 0 divided by 0 is not defined. So then you can run that execution. So there the answer is NaN, which means not an number. So those are the two special cases in numeric characters. So these are numeric characters, inf and nan. So except that, you can do simple arithmetic calculations using R here. So if you want to get 4 by 3, just type it and execute. Or you can type it directly in the console and suppose 8 divided by 2. Or you can get the power as well, 4 to the power 3. So then the command is executed in the console and the answer is printed on the console. So even you can use X function, so for exponential values. So if you want to find the syntax of the function, you can type it using question mark and X. So by expert typing exp, it will suggest all the available functions in our environment. So there are few cases, so you can go to one by one and select the most suitable function. So I need X. So there, press enter. So then the description of the function will be shown in the help window, and you can see the syntax and with its arguments and the details as well as examples. So you can go through this help and learn more about functions. So then you can try different combinations or different type of inputs with different type of arguments in the same function to see the behavior of the function. So I need to get exponential 5. So then write x5. So it is 148.4. So likewise, if you need to get logarithms, so first you can go to log. So log is a function in the base package. So that base package is a default package, so it will be automatically uploaded to the session. So we don't have to recall to the session. So in there we have syntaxes. So we have few more functions: log, log b, log 10, log 2, likewise. So we can try these cases and understand the behavior. So this R is an open source software. So you can use RTran, and there are some R clubs or free documents available in the internet. So this is a fastly updating language. So when you are creating a code, so you can get updated functions from RTran. So let's see log 10 answer. So which means log function gives the natural logs. So log 10 gives 2. Log 10 100 is 2. So that is log to the power or to the root of 10. So likewise, if you want to get antilog, so you can type antilog here, and so since we didn't get any suggestion, which means the default packages doesn't or do not have antilog function inside them, which means we have to find a suitable package with this antilog function. So then you can go to RTran or to Google and find a proper package. There can be several packages with the same function with different kind of syntaxes and arguments. So you can find a proper package, and you can come to this packages window and type the package name here, or if it is an already installed package, so you can see the package in here. If it is not listed in here, you can go to install and type the package name here. If you have seen, you can directly download it from the RTran. So select the respiratory can type the name and install. So we will see how to install packages in the next or upcoming classes. So now, and the most important thing is when you are working with this code, so once you type a new line in this name will be changed to red color. So then make sure to save in regular occasions to keep the code tight and clean. So then we can go to generating pattern data. So as I mentioned before, when we are dealing with data sets, sometimes we need to enter patterned data into the case. So we don't need to type it by hand. We can use this colon operator. So this colon operator gives integer patterns, which means it is a subset of an integer. So it is continuous subset. So which means we have to mention the start point and the end point. So all the integers, including the start and end, will be printed in the pattern. So here 1 to 10, which means it will give integers from 1 to 10. This is an increasing pattern. You can make decreasing patterns as well. So I need numbers from 20 to 10. So then 20 colon 10. So there you can see numbers from 20 to 10 will be printed on the screen or the console. So you can copy that line and copy into an external source if you are interested. So you can store that one into a variable and use that variable to inside your function. So inside your analysis part. So we will be doing those things in future classes. Now, so that is the basic pattern. There's a function called sequence. Sec is the function name. So we can create sequences using this sec function. So you can type sec in the console with the question mark and run it. So you can see by pressing enter, you can see the syntax and the arguments inside that sec function. So by varying the numbers in these arguments or conditions of these arguments, you can have different kind of sequences. So when you are, and you can have the exact sequence that you want by changing the numbers of the argument. So see, I want a sequence starting from 0. So here we had only integers, but in here, if you want to get real numbers in my sequence, so start from 0 and I want that sequence to be ended in 4.5, and I need to increase my sequence at each step by 0.5, which means start from 0 at the 0.5, then it return the next value. You see, it is 0.5, and add the 0.5 to the second value and return the third value as 1. So likewise, it increases up to 4.5. Then we can execute that one and you can see the pattern here. So it is here. Then here I need another sequence start from 8, and I need this sequence to be ended at -2 or before -2. So that is the condition. This is the start point. This can be the exact end point, or this is the nearest highest value of the endpoint of this sequence, which means if our increment doesn't give the exact endpoint, then it will return the smallest, or not the smallest, the highest value to the sequence which is closer to the endpoint which have emphasized in our function by this argument 2. So you can see that in this case. So we want our sequence to start from 8 and goes up to -2 or closer to -2, and we need or we expect a decrement by 3. So, and here you can see, if you are following the order in the syntax, so you don't want to type the argument like this. So instead of typing from equal, you can type the input directly. So automatically that number will be taken as the value for this argument. So if you can remember the uh, syntax order of arguments, so you can type this. So you don't have to memorize all the things here. Just use help menu and see the syntax there. So you can provide data for each argument according to your preference and you need, and especially to the according to the function order. So here I want my function to start, or sequence to start from 8 and go at least up to 2 minus 2, and the decrement is 3. You can see it start from 8. 8 minus 3 is 5, 5 minus 3 2, 2 minus 3 is minus 1. So minus 1 minus 3 means minus 4, that exceed our endpoint. That is why it has ended before uh, minus 2. So minus 1 is the closest point to minus 2 according to our given sequence pattern. So likewise, in the next line, you can see sequence start from 1 and end from 9. So there is an argument called length out. So using this, we can create a sequence with equal gaps. So if you have determined the sequence length prior to the calculation, so you can give the endpoint and start point and the number of points you need to include to the sequence. So I need a sequence with 3 points and I need 1 as my start, then 9 as my end. So I'll use this. Apart from this start and end points, this is a special case because length out is in the order as 4th argument. So if I need to call an argument before its order, so you have to write the argument name and use equal sign to assign numbers to that argument. So I need a length or sequence with 3 objects. So length of the sequence is 3 now. So I'll execute that one. Then you can see start from 1 and goes to 9 and have 3 points with equal gaps. So you can find different arbitrary combinations to see the behaviors, to study the behavior of this function with different numbers to each argument. And R objects can have attributes like name, dimension names, and the dimensions of matrix and arrays, class of the object, length of the vector or array, like that. So this length function will give the length of a sequence or a vector. So you can call length and inside the bracket you can provide the sequence itself, or you can assign the sequence to an object name, then you can call that object name inside the function. So this is sequence and I have directly given that sequence inside the function. So the length of the sequence will be automatically printed, which means first this console execute the sequence, then apply that sequence to the function, and the output of the function is only the length, so length is printed. And here we have assigned 10 to capital X. So now we can call the capital X inside length or the name of the assigning object. So then it shows we have only one object inside that variable. So the length is 1. So likewise, you can use nested functions like I have used in here. I want a sequence goes from 1 to 24, and the length of the sequence is equal to the length of this sequence. So this sequence has numbers or integers from 1 to 11, but I am interested in the length of that sequence. So I need a new sequence equal to the length of the previous sequence. So that is why I have used nested functions here. Then executing that will return a sequence start from 1 and goes to 24, and we have real numbers inside that with equal gaps. So apart from that sequence, if you study the behavior of the sequence, always we have to mention the start and the end, and we have to give the length, or we have to give the increment or the decrement using repeat patterns. So it is hard to build repeated patterns using sequence function, but rep function is provide that facility to prepare repeated patterns. So you can see I need to, suppose I need to repeat 5 or 9 for 5 times. So then repeat 9 for 5 times. So then you can run that one, and you can see 9 is repeated for 5. So if you are not familiar with the syntax, just type question mark and rep. So then select the function you want to, or that suits for your operation, select it and go press enter. Then it will direct you to the help menu. So there you can see this rep function is a part of the base library, and the description is like this, and the syntax is like this, and we have only one argument there, and sub arguments are allowed like times and length out each like this. So by changing those arguments, we can have different kind of patterns. So here just repeating 9 for 5 times. Suppose I need to repeat a sequence or a pattern for few times, which means I can give a pattern instead of a number to the first argument of this function. So now I am giving a sequence from 1 to 4, and I need that sequence to be repeated for 2 times. So then repeat the sequence or the vector. How many times? It is 2 times. So then by executing that line, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and again 1, 2, 3, 4 is repeated. And in the next line, I have used one more argument that are available in the function. So you can see repeat this sequence 1 to 4, and I need the sequence, or I need this here. I need to repeat each value or each character in this numerical string or numerical object for 2 times. So then my original pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4, but I want a result pattern like 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4, 4. So which means it repeats the same number for twice. So then you have to give the original pattern, then you can use this argument each. So this will allow to repeat each element in the pattern for twice or how many times you want. So then you can see I need to repeat one number for twice in the same pattern. So then I can write 1 to 4 each 2. By executing that, you will see 1 1, 2 2, 3 3, and 4 4 is printed. So but if you are given the 2 without each, it will automatically give the second argument, which means how many times you want to repeat the pattern. But if you are emphasizing the argument inside the function, so it will run the argument directly. So in the next one, I have add another argument into the function. So it is available, if you can see, it is available in the syntax. So it goes from 1 to 4, that is the original pattern, and I need to list each element in the pattern for twice, and I want to repeat that resulted pattern for 3 times. So then I can code like this and run it. So you can see from the original 1 2 3 4, first pattern is created like 1 1 2 2 3 3 and 4 4. Then that pattern is repeated for 3 times. So that is how you can see. So by changing these cases, so changing these values for each argument, you can prepare or create different kind of patterns with repeats. So that is how you can use repeats. So since this is a video lecture, so we have limited time, which means uh, I can give more examples in here. Since this is an open source software, so you are free to do whatever available in the R CRAN, which means you can use those things. But even during the exam, you are allowed to use help menu, but not the internet. So you can have a short note with codes to uh, do the exam. So you don't have to worry about writing down all the functions that I have given in here. You can use new functions. So this subject is not limited to the whatever the content we are learning or teaching, but it is more focused on what you have learned. So you have to, if you can find new functions with this update, because this is an updating subject, the functions I am introducing today will be expired tomorrow, and using the old function, someone will upload a new function which is more comfortably using than the old function. That is why we can't limit these functions to a frame. So for the same operation, we can have several functions. But so we are focused on the target or our objective, not the function. So if you can fulfill or you can meet the target with a different kind of approach, it's okay. If your approach is correct, so then you will be ordered. So we can go to the next case. So up to now we have discussed about numerical strings. So it can be an integer or real number. But here, so if we want, sometimes we need to use character arrays, which means in a survey you are using capital M for males and simple M, capital F for females. So then you have to write F and M in a sequence. So these letters or functions called letters return the simple alphabet, and each letter is treated as individual uh, object. So here capital letters will be returned using this function in here. So you can, if you want, oh, and the other thing is you can type nested functions in the console, or not in the console, in the session. And if you want to execute only one function, so you have to highlight that function and run it. So by highlighting simple letters, so you can see that these letters or this object name carries the 26 letters in lowercase, and this name capital letters carries the 26 letters in uppercase. So now I'm scooping that first 4 letters from the simple alphabet. So that is why these scooping techniques are described in upcoming lectures. So you don't have to worry about that scoping technique in here. What I want to show you is you can use character pattern as well. So here you can see I need first 4 simple letters from the alphabet. So I scoop 1 to 4 from the simple letters. So you can see A, B, C and D is printed here. Then the next 4 capital letters is printed through this part, which means I need 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th letters from capital alphabet. So you can see that E, F, G, H is printed in here. So likewise, you can change the numbers from each case and get the letter you want. So this is somewhat comfortable approach to print the letter or the character string we need. Otherwise, you have to type it by your hand. So then using that function, we can create repeated letters. So in the previous part, we saw that rep function will repeat a string with some conditions. So by changing the condition, we can have different type of patterns for numerical objects. Even for characters, we can use that rep function. So you can see repeat first 4 simple letters for 3 times. So it will be like this. A, B, C, D is repeated for 3 times. And here I need to repeat A, B and C, simple A, B and C, and I need only one A and I need 2 B's and 3 C's. So then instead of giving a constant there, you can give a pattern there. So this gives whatever the original sequence in this place will be repeated according to the order or the sequence in this. So it assigns the number to its respective position. So here you can see my original sequence is 1, 2, 3 simple letters. So it is A, B, C. And I need to repeat that sequence according to the next sequence. It is 1, 2, 3. And let's see the result. So it is A, B, B, C, 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 which means first letter is repeated only one time. Second letter is repeated for 2 times. And third letter is repeated for 3 times. So that type of options are available. And you can give a character directly as we did in numbers. So if I need to repeat T, the character T, not the logical T, for 3 times, I can type the character inside inverted commas and repeat it for 3 times. So it will give 3 character T's, but you can use logical vectors as well, logical patterns. So now, without the inverted commas, capital T is treated as the true state. So then our pattern is true, true, true. So now it is a logical string. So that's the difference. And now we have discussed few methods to create patterns. So using these patterns, we can create vectors now. So you can see the basic command for defining vectors is simple C and brackets. So bracket will be a default case for every function. So C is the function, simple C. And at the same time, you can assign that created vector to a proper object name or variable name through the assignment operator. And you can see by executing this highlighted command only, it will assign the result to A and output is not printed. So in the environment, you can see there is an output or what are the components of this vector or elements. So here, by using additional pair of brackets, so it will assign and print at the same time. So you can see A is assigned with some values, and those values are integers. That is why I have put a comment in here. So this is how you can put proper comments in a code. So my numbers inside A is 1, 2, 3, and 4. At the same time, since I used extra brackets, or I call the function inside bracket, output is also printed. So now you can see simple B be a vector with characters 1, 2, and 3. So it is a character string. So you can see A is a numerical vector, and it has 1 to 4, which means it has 4 elements. And B is a character vector, that is why it is CHR here, and it has only 3 elements, and these are the first few objects or in elements in that vector. So this is simple CB, a logical vector. So you can see I have type true, false, or T and F. Both are considered as logical operators. So it is a logical vector, and you can see it is a logical vector, and the length is 4, and these are the first few elements in that vector. Likewise, you can create complex numbers as well. So it's quite similar to the writing technique 1 plus 1i, 2 minus 3i. So then this is a complex vector. So you can see it is a complex vector. So objective class of the vector is printed prior to the length. So this is the length, and this has some another meaning. When you are defining matrix, I'll introduce that meaning as well. So these are the available first few elements. So apart from that, we have another method to create vectors. So it is the vector function. So you can use this vector. So it is a function. So you can use help menu to see the syntax of this vector function later. So, and here you can see I have used both numbers and letters in my objective name. So it is x1. So I assign my vector to x1, and in here I have to mention the type of the vector. It can be numeric, character, logical, or complex, likewise. But you are allowed to give the numbers or sequence to this place and give the length as well. So it will automatically assign the numbers there. But here I need to create an empty vector with 10 elements. So I can fill elements up to 10 for that empty x1 vector. So that is why I emphasized length is equal to 10. So by executing this line, you can see x1 is a numerical vector, but it is an empty vector. So since it is an empty vector, we can see only zeros here. So how to update data into this empty vector? So suppose I need to assign -9 to the 9th element of this x1. So then x1 and this bracket, and you have typed the position. It is 10. So I assign -9 to the 10th position of x1. Then execute it, and you can see the 10th position is updated as -9. Suppose I need to edit the second position. So then x1 bracket 2. So which means second position is called now, and I want to assign 2 to that second position. So after running this code, you can see my second position is updated. So likewise, when you are updating this will be completed, and you can replace the values as well using the same technique. Suppose I need to change this second position from 2 to 5. So then type a similar kind of command line x1 box 2, and I want to assign 5 to that position. So then execute this command, our 2 is replaced by 5 now. So that is how you can edit or enter data. So this is valid for any type of vector. So after defining an empty vector using vector command, you can update enter data to that one, and you can use the same technique to edit already defined vectors. And this is the second case. So using simple C function, you can create null vectors. So here you can see x2 is a null. So which means it can be a numerical character, logical, or any object class, and the length can be any value. So this kind of null vectors are useful in computations or large scale computations, which means we don't know the endpoint. So we will give this kind of null vectors when we want to store data inside those complex calculations. So when we are doing those kind of calculations, I will introduce how to do so. So by now you can see we can create two type of empty vectors. Using vector command, we can create an empty vector with an exact length. By using C, we can create an empty vector without the length and the object class. So now, in the previous cases, we used only one type of object class to enter data. So here it is integer, this is only characters, this is logical, this is complex. Now I am mixing objects in my vector. So in a vector, it can be only, or a vector can only be belongs to one object type. So though I mixed my input, automatically it will take only one class. So that is coefficient. So after that we have functions to change the coefficient and check the coefficient. So here I1 is a vector with 1.7 and a character 8. So since this is a character, this numerical character is also treated as a character. So you can see after executing this one, now y1, in y1, 1.7 is not a number now, it is a character. And when you are giving this logical true and numerical 2, so if I run that one, you can see that my logical true is treated as 1. So now true is a number, not a logical state. Oh, in here, logical state and a character. So you can see by executing that one, our logical state is converted as a character. No longer there is a logical vector. So when the different objects are mixed in a vector, cohesion occurs so that every element in the vector is of the same class. So it depends on the data types that we have used inside our vector definition. So at last, you can see definition of vectors using patterns now. So in the before defining vectors, we learn how to define patterns. So those patterns can be directly stored as vectors. What you have to do is you have to assign the output into a proper object name. So here I want to store this sequence or the pattern as a vector called simple leaf. So then just assign the sequence to E. So you can see E is an integer vector with 11 elements, and the first part of the vector is visible in this environment. Likewise, I can use sequences as well. So first create a sequence and then assign it to a object name called F. So in the same line I type all the things. So you can see F is a numerical vector with 11 points, and the objects, so the elements of this vector is like this, and the length of F. So you can see the length of F is 11. So it is the length of this sequence. And you can use repeated patterns as well. So what you have to do is just store that repeated pattern to an name, so that will be a vector. So here we have used that pattern already. So you can see G is an integer vector with 24 elements, and the first part of the element is visible here. So that is the end of today. So here, uh, this is since this is a 2 hour class, so I have given the necessary parts that you want to study in this course. So first go through this video, and you can have some extra work to the next hour. uh, you can find more exercises in internet as well, because I have mentioned that there are more functions. So I have introduced only basic functions. So you can use those complex functions as well in your assignments and exam, and even if you are working or adapting these techniques in your workplace, so you can use these things. Normally, when you are coding, you can import codes from Clang. Uh, but in the exam, you can't import that one, so you can have a short note and you can use help menu. And on the other hand, you can use there's a there are a few sites which allows you to learn about programming languages for free to some extent. So I recommend DataCamp. This DataCamp. So this website allows you to practice these soft languages: R, C++, Python, SQL. Likewise, they are providing the interface uh, through the internet, so you don't need to install the software to your computer. You can practice those languages in their program. So they have free courses. So you can go through those courses and be fluent in the language.